Okay, for before you start this, okay, you'll want to cut a one strand of leather that is 138 inches long because we are going to use that to make these knotted uh, pearl sections. And then for the necklace part, you'll need 52 inches. So they'll be separate parts. And then for these knots here, these are coil knots that I added in afterwards, and you'll need about 6 inches for each, so that's about 12. But this is the important part, because what we're going to do is we're going to make these using a very long cord, and then you'll see how I do this. And I think it just uses the least amount of leather because when I first started making these, I just wasted a lot of leather. This way uses the least amount. So what you do is you take this gigantic strand of leather, and we're going to offset it by 5 inches. There's 5. And then with the long one on top, we're going to find the middle. There's the center, and then you're going to have the long side on top. And from this point, we're going to make a regular, like a moose knot. So in case you're not familiar with the moose knot, you have your cord clipped in there. And remember, this top one is 5 inches longer because these moose knots take up a lot of cord. I'm going to go 1, 2, and for the top part of the knots, I did a triple. It's like a triple runged knot, if you might want to call it that. And then these knots here, they have a 2. So there we have our 3. There's 1, 2, and 3. And you feed the cord through. And you pull this all the way through. Put it on the clip, a peg, and then tighten. Okay, let's get that nice and snug. Okay, so, and on these, some of them are longer than others, but I'll show you. You want to make the long ones first. So what I did, so I have this here, and then I take it out, and then I find like about the 1-inch mark. So I just find like about 1 inch anywhere on the board, like about 1 inch, about right there. So what you do is you clip that little section in, and then this side could go. Just move it off to the side, or you can clip it if you want, just to get it out of the way. And then you make a double knot. So this side's very long, and you just go 1, and then 2, and you hold it, you take the peg out, and then feed that end through. So you get that, pull. And the pearls I'm using are about 10 to 12 millimeters. Then you squish this and just get nice and snug. And then you feed your pearl on. You clip that. I don't know what this wire is. Hang on, guys. All right. Okay, now with the peg, actually, if you don't have to do the other way, which I might have to do in a second, but the way I like to do this, see, so now I've got the pearl on, and I need to come in and make a double knot on the end of that. Sometimes you'll have to do it a slightly different way, but this is my favorite way because it's just easier and it puts less tension on the leather. So I'm going to come in here and pull this and try not to take everything with me, because you know how when you're working with long cords, anything that gets tangled in just like comes with you. So then you're just going to twist and pull. That's the important thing. I'm pulling and twisting. Okay, so now this side is done. So I'm going to come in with some scissors and I'm going to cut this. I'm going to cut that one. And I'm going to put this strand aside. And now I like them to be a little bit offset. So what I do is I mark about right here. I look at the purl, and this right centered with the purl, that's where I put the next knot. So I come in here. Then I just go one. See how I go over? It's like a, I don't know what that symbol is, but then you just wrap it just like that. I'll do that again in case you missed it. You go one, see, it's kind of like, I don't know what they call it, a ribbon. I don't know. Two, and right there. Then you just want to hold it until you get this side in your hand. Then you take the peg out. Then you feed this through. Okay, there comes my mouse. Let's see what else. Okay. Okay. Then you just like get it nice and snug. Twist and tighten. And then you feed your next purl on. Okay, so we got that there, and you clip it. You take your peg. Then you just wrap, like holding the peg and just wrapping. You're kind of like wrapping around the purl a little bit. And then you come in. Let's make sure this isn't tangled. And you feed the leather through those two loops, and then you pull. And then you just kind of twist and pull. And then you trim this side. Okay. So now you've got the first one done. So then what we're going to do is with these sides, we're going to keep going back and forth. So we have our first one. And this gets kind of like weird. I tell you guys, there's just some weird math. You'll see in a minute. Okay, so here's the first one. So now we need to make another one that's on the longish side. So we're going to repeat the same steps with our with this half cord. So I'm going to come in here, offset it by 5. The long side on top, pin in a clip an inch apart, and then we make another moose knot. Where did my peg go? So there's 2. So you get the idea. Basically, once you've made one, you'll have 2 sides left, and those are the sides you use for the next ones. So and the reason I like doing the ones in the middle first is because they require a little more leather, and sometimes it's that itty bitty teeny weeny bit that you need that makes or breaks the deal. Okay, so I'm going to measure out 1 inch, and then I'm going to clip that right there. And then I'm going to clip this. I have a clip over here just to hold the leather, so just to keep it out of the way. And you come in here, and then you twist, twist, and then hold it snug. See how it gets a lot easier once those cords are a lot shorter. So then you feed this through and pull. Actually, I did that one wrong because it's supposed to be a 2-loop. Okay. Before you tighten it down, just take it out and do it over. You could do 3 if you wanted to, but it's going to take a lot more leather. Because I kid you not, with this 2mm leather, one knot takes almost 3 inches of leather. That's insane. Okay, so we got that one there, nice and snug. Pearl. I mean, I think this is pretty straightforward. I think the useful information is like the tips and tricks, and that's mostly like starting with a very long strand rather than a bunch of like smaller strands, because like I said earlier, I had cut like different size strands and it was just, I could never get it just right. And okay, so normally I don't like, I tied it that way without going around the pearl. You can do that, but but I would do that only with 2mm leather, because you have to like really pull it. If you're using like a 1.5 or a 1, I would do the wrap around the pearl thing. So you come in here and trim this, and then you do the same thing on this side. So since we're still working on our center pearl set, I'm going to, right in here, right at the middle of the pearl is where I'm going to clip, and then make my double loop knot. Put it like this, hold it. You just get your fingers and just hold it firmly. Take this out and then feed your leather through. Okay, things are looking good. And put your next pearl on. And when I put the pearl on, I get it as close as possible. So then I'm going to come in here and then wrap. Take this out and twist, pull, twist and pull. And then trim. Okay, so now we've got the 2 that will go in the middle. So now we need to make 4 more. So let me put these aside. And you should have like 1 really long strand and then 2 shorter strands. Because I tell you, like I said at the beginning, it's really weird math. I think it's because in the beginning we make 1 and then you end up with 2 strands, and then I don't know, it's just kind of weird. So now I'm going to make the 2 more, and I'm going to offset by 5. And the reason I offset by 5 is because if I were to like have it centered just like this, and then I made the moose knot, one of them would be, you know, a lot longer than the other. So that's the closest I can get it to them being even. So you offset by 5, and then with the longer side on top, you make your moose knot. And, you know, also, you know, just to let you know, you could do a double on the top as well, but I just chose to do a triple because I just like that chunky look. Okay, so tighten this. And this one, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna do 1/2 inch. I'm gonna make 2, I don't know, I'm gonna go for 1/2 inch. I mean, it doesn't matter as long as they're not like all, you know, even. So I'm gonna put this one here. I'm gonna clip this over here, and okay, so this one goes through here. purl. And then I'm going to in the second knot. I mean, with any project that you do, you're going to have some leftover thread or cord. But I think doing it this way, I ended up with the least amount of waste. So there's that. Now this side, I'm in about right there. Just tighten. And let's see, we have about 5.5-inch tail. I've found that about a 5.5-inch end is about what you need to get to make a knot. Because you need like leverage. I mean, maybe you could get by with a little bit less, but maybe 5 inches, maybe 4.5 minimum. I mean, there are some things that you can do. See, like right now, I didn't have enough to go all the way around the pearl. So this is one scenario where I would like make the knot and then just kind of like force it down. So here's this one. Okay, so now we've got the number 3. So now let's see what we got so far. Okay, so now we have this one, and we're going to make the 4th one. And then with this long one, we'll make the last 2. So let's offset by 5. Clip. At any, excuse me, at any time you can like fast forward. You get the idea. Okay, so now, I think the last time I did 1/2 inch, so I'm going to do another about. It doesn't have to be, the important thing is you just don't want them all to be like at the same level. That's my little like trick. So I come in here, go 1, 2. Get the purl on. Maybe we can speed things up this way. Let's see what we can do here. Let's see. Oh, perfect. I'm going to squeeze and pull, twist and pull. And we're going to, now we're going to do this side about right there. And I have some measurements for if you only want to do 4 in between, you'll only need 100 inches of 2mm. Just FYI, and I'll have that in the notes down below. Oops, I am getting ahead of myself. Let's clip this here. You know, if you, excuse me, if you ever run out of leverage, one thing you can do is get some wax cord, like the wax jewelry cord, the thin stuff, and just like tie it on the very, very end and use that because the other day I made one. I didn't have enough to go through, so you just like tie some cord. And I mean, because the only thing you need it for is like to get the cord through the hole. That is like, excuse me, the worst. You trim that, and then you have the fourth one. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we just have 2 more to make. You know, and it's kind of weird because one thing that I noticed, where do my pegs go? They keep going away. Huh. The sometimes because I follow this formula, and I noticed that you know sometimes using that like the 140 inches of leather that I use, I end up coming up short, and I'm like, why is that? And I think it's because a leather, I mean any leather, most leather, it's not 100% consistent in terms of thickness because there's a little bit of variance. It could be like, you know, 1/4 of a millimeter, and it adds up. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you're just 1/4 of a millimeter, you know, off. I mean, that could like going either way in thickness. It could be 2.25 or 1.75, and you end up with the same strange problem where your calculation is off. It's so weird. Okay, so there's this one. We put the pearl on. But I think no matter what, the worst thing is coming up short. Let's get this one through. All right, tighten, trim. Uh-oh, whoops. I forgot my other knot right there. Clip. And I mean, it doesn't have to be like 100% perfect because you don't want it to be because I think if you get everything to where it's like very like too perfect, then I don't, I don't mean by too perfect, but too symmetrical. It doesn't have that organic look. Okay, so how many do we have so far? Let's see, we have the 2 minutes. Okay, now we're working on the sides. Isn't that crazy? Oh, no, here. Okay, so we have this one, good. And then one more. Okay. Okay, and the interesting thing is, okay, you will end up with leftover, which is good because this piece is long enough that you can do something with. So it's better to have too much leftover than not enough, and especially if the leftover is like useful. This next one is a little bit trickier because You'll end up with a one piece. It's about 18 inches long. And this is where, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. So instead of offsetting by 5, I'm going to offset by 4. Let me see if I can explain this. Because 18 inches is enough to like barely get by, but you'll see in a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, because one side is always a little bit longer than the other. See, that's like this side is longer than that side. So what I do when I have, just 18 inches left over like that, where does my peg go? It just keeps, oh, there it is. I offset it by 4 inches, so that way I'll have one side that's already longer, just a little bit. And that's the side that you'll see in a second. I'm going to tighten that. And so see how this side is longer? So the short end I'm going to make on this side, and then the longer end I'm going to make on this side. So I'm going to measure 1/2 inch. And I might run out of leather. I might not, but if I do, I will show you a trick. So let's flip this. So then this goes through. And we're basically just repeating the steps over and over. And one way you'll know if you've made these enough, you're going to be like, oh, 4 inches. It's either going to... A couple of things that you can do is like look on your pearls and hope that you find a pearl that's a little bit like shorter, which I couldn't find. So let's see if I can do this. Okay, so pliers. You're going to need yourself some pliers. Let me see what I have. Or just like anything that'll grip. Let me see what I have here. Okay, I'll take these guys. Okay. So 1, 2. Okay. See how this end is really, really short? That could be a problem, but I think in this case, I think I managed. Okay, that's good. I mean, there's very little leverage, but see, you just don't have that enough to grip. But so what I do is I take a pair of pliers and then I just pull and tighten, and then trim this side off. And remember this other, okay, I think if we had made them the same size, same length, we would have had trouble on both sides. So here's this one, and here's 1 and 2. Okay. Oh, 4 inches, yes. Well, things are looking good. Well, I had to make this so many times to get the measurement right. Okay, now sometimes if you have a pearl that won't go through, don't try to force it, because what can happen is that the inside of the pearl could like scratch your leather. Actually, in this case, it doesn't matter, because let's just get it on there. Because you're going to be tying over it anyway. Okay. Okay. So then we come in here and do our double. And yeah. See, this is a case where I can't wrap around the pearl because I just don't have enough leather. That's why I don't like doing this. I guess you could just move this part up to the pearl and then move the bottom part. It's just that tugging at such, I mean, leather, if it were thin, is just not a good idea. Okay, so now we have, let's see, we should have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so the way I'm going to arrange them, I'm going to put the 2 longer ones in the middle, and then the shorter ones toward the side. And then for in this part, we can save this for the moose knots that, I mean, the coil knots that we have to do at the end, or just save them for a ladder bracelet or something. And this is basically the waist, which honestly isn't too bad. So the next length of cord you'll need is 52 inches. So let me see what I have, about 52 inches of some leather. Let's see what we got. Okay. The 20, 40, 50, and 2. Okay, so cut. Okay, so what we do with this one is you have it, your 52 inches offset by 5. And the way I like to put the coil knot right smack in the middle is I'd like to make a moose knot and then just pull it all the way through. Because for me, it's just easier. Where, I swear my peg keeps leaving me. Let me grab another one. You know, if you're ever in a situation where you lose your peg, you could always use the bottom part of a clip because they're the same diameter. Okay, so I'm going to come in and make a, it's going to be a 3. 1, that's 2, and 3. And you could always tell how many coils it's going to have just by 1, 2, 3. And then you feed this through. And then you pull the part that slides, you just pull all the way through. And this should be in the middle, pretty close to the middle. Yeah, there we go. See that? It'll be a little bit off, but that's all right. So now what we do is we're going to start sliding these guys on. Let's see. Let's start with the long ones. Which ones are the long ones? These two. So one goes on one side, and then the other one goes on the other side. So what we need to do now is make a triple knot on this side. Let's see. And let's see, how did I do this one here? Yeah, you just flip this in here, just like that. And then we make a triple. It's like what we were doing before, except now we're going to go around 3 times, just like this. Take the peg out. I think the important thing is you just make sure and hold it. And you feed this through and pull. And now this one, you're going to have to kind of wiggle it, twist it, pull, twist and pull, just to get it to where it's like tightened. Let's see. When you twist it, it kind of equalizes, then you pull, then you twist it and then pull. And then you have it like right in there, just like this. Then you turn this around and then you put the next long one on. And then you make another coil knot, just the same way. So you clip this in as close as you can, just like that. And then you twist 2 and 3. Hold it. Take the peg out and feed the cord through. And then you just repeat those steps until you get them all tightened on. Okay, so now when you get to the end, okay, you have a couple of options. Let's see. I'm trying to remember actually how I did this one. I think I did the coil knot, but I didn't go, oh yeah. Okay, let me see. I think I did this. I measured 5. I bent. I think this is what I did, guys. Because I did a bunch of different variations of this, so I made like a knot. Let's see if this works. I did 3. I came all the way through. Then I pulled this. This nice and snug. And then you can pull this one and see how this knot gets pulled all the way here to the base of this guy here. So that is one option, but I just want to show you, like for now, that this is one way that you could do it. Okay, but what I would do before you tie that on, because I want to show you something. There's always options. Okay, let's get this off. Because if you're going to do it this way, and you want to put a clasp in, you want to make sure and put the clasp in first. Or, you know what, it all depends. You know what, I'll just leave this one at like that, because the options on this side, because you're going to need to make a coil knot here anyway. So let's just pretend. So what you want to do is put a drop of glue there, slide it down. Because if you just want it to be single, then you just make the moose knots. You'll have to trim it, but then it'll be a waste of leather. And the purpose of this project is to have that chunky look. So you just make that coil knot, slide it down, but make sure and put glue. I'm not gluing this one yet. And then over here, I'm going to make a coil knot, but some options that you have. Number one, if you want it to be adjustable, you could put chain on one side. You could put some chain in here and then put a clasp. But on this one, I just I used just the leather loop itself. But if I wanted to, I could have like put some chain in there. So, and then I come in when I do this side, I do add the clasp. So let me grab a clasp here. So I come in here, offset it by 5, and then make sure I get the clasp in that loop. So then I would just make my triple. 1, 2, hold it, then feed this through. I guess the important part here is just make sure you get it nice and like knocked out. And it really helps to form a very nice knot if you put your hand on top and then just pull it down. It just helps everything just looks so much nicer. So you're going to pull nice and snug. And if you are going to put the glue, what you do is just slide this down, 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 and then put a good amount of GS Hypo cement. That is what I would use. This one here. Oops. Just get a good dab on there. Make sure and trim this part off. So, but make sure that the knot is nice and super tight. So let me make sure it's tight. Then I'll put my glue on, and then you want to trim that excess off. And one thing that I like to use are nail clippers. I mean, cuticle scissors. Just get cheap ones. These were like, these Tweezermans are like, I just use these because they got ruined anyway. So I just come in here, clip this. I put the glue right in there, which I'll do. Why not? And just so you know, this stuff is supposed to have a needle in it, but my needle like fell out, or I don't know why it got stuck to the lid, but it just did. Actually, I think I like it better this way because it's so much faster and easier. So then I just slide That one, just which one is it? There it goes. Just slide it all the way down and let it dry. And then you know what? I might as well do this one while I'm at it. Let's do it. Okay, so we got it nice and snug. I'm going to trim that tail off because you want to make sure and trim it really well. Or otherwise it just, I don't know, gets in the way. Okay, let's get this part. Whoops. Get some, ooh, nice. Slide it down. And let me get the lid on here. Okay, good. But I'm not finished with this. We're still going to use it to make the coil knots for the ends here. So one thing I found that works really well, because you don't want to put your knot in there and then have it be kind of crooked like this. I find that if you connect it to a peg like that, let me take this out. Just put it in there and then like clip it as far down as you can. So just make sure they're nice and even. Okay, so, but if you were going to put a pearl, because I did one where I used a pearl instead of a clasp, you could just put the pearl in there and then you make your loop big enough for the pearl to fit through. So, you know, those are just like little, like different options. So let's see. We could use our leftover leather, which I think would be a good idea. So let's measure about 5, I'm going to go 6 inches because I'm going to do either I think a triple. Uh-oh. Yeah, see, Holly, when you're dealing with really thick leather, you need a lot more of everything. So since my little tails are kind of short here, I think I'm going to rely on my pliers to tighten these. So I'm going to, this one goes in this way, this one goes in that way, and now we got to remember 6 inches of leather. So you want to get it not too tight, just enough so there's still like wiggle room in there. Let me get another pair of, I have 2 here. I'll use these. So right in there, I'm going to dab on that glue. And see, the reason you don't want this tight is because you want to be able to get it over the glue. So if you tighten it down and then slide it over the glue, then it's going to push the glue rather than like go over the glue. See, like that? And then you tighten. So, okay. I'm going to take these guys here and here. And see, ideally, see, this is perfect because you see how the glue just kind of like squished through the knot? That's what you want. Okay, so I'm going to leave that to dry. I'm not going to cut those ends off until it's completely dry, which I would give it about 24 hours. I mean, I used to be like really into the super glue because I thought, oh, I'm going to use super glue because it dries so fast. But boy, let me tell you, that stuff, oh, it is nasty. That's terrible, terrible stuff. So on this one, I'm going to go 7 inches so I don't have to. But, you know, if you feel like this is too precious of a piece of leather to waste, because if you cut off 7, then you're going to have this awkward amount. And so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cut off 7 off the spool. Because sometimes you just have to make decisions like that. Like, you know, is it worth cutting? And in this case, no. Because I can make a ladder bracelet with this. I can make like a single string. I mean, there are a lot of things I could do with this. So I think I'll just put it aside. And then I'm going to come in here and do a triple 1, 2, and 3. Okay. And you could kind of pull on it to where you could adjust it so that the sides are like about the same. So one end goes in one way and the other end goes in the other way. So you just want it formed but not tightened. See that? Okay, so I'm going to come in and put my GS Hypo Cement right in there. And this glue is really interesting because it has a solvent in it. And once the solvent dissolves, because one time I got some and I put it on a piece of glass just to see, like, what does it look like when it's dry? It's really interesting because it's like thick plastic. It's really cool. Okay, so I'm going to push this over the knot. Perfect. Okay, knot over glue and then tighten, tighten. See, when you have a little bit of extra, it's nice to have that leverage. Oh. But, you know, in worst case scenario, if you don't have the leverage that you need, you could always use a pair of pliers or 2 pairs of pliers. And don't tighten going that way. Make sure you tighten going along the same length of this part. So that is it. So let's see what we got. Perfect. So now we got your chunky moose knot gone wild necklace. And if you feel if these sides are too long, because I made one necklace, it's real simple to fix it. One thing that you can do is just put an overhand knot right in here, and then just put another one on the other side. So that's if you want it to be a little bit shorter. But this one will make like about an 18-inch. And that, you know, remember, whatever clasp you use, it's going to add to the length. So anyway, so that is it.